A drama has unfolded on Capitol Hill today regarding that whole BP oil spill and the live video. Brianna Keeler has been following that. Brianna, we are finally seeing these pictures, but this was a real struggle to see.
Yeah, and what you have now here, 1 month after this explosion, where you see these live pictures that lawmakers here on Capitol Hill have been fighting to get from BP, they say, you have a narrative playing out, and that is Democrats who are very skeptical of offshore oil drilling and very skeptical of the Obama administration's policy of planning to expand offshore oil drilling are making their case with this new video, which you see there on the right. And, you know, before we get to some sound from one of these lawmakers, Congressman Markey, I just want to explain to you what you're seeing here in this video, because this was explained at one of the events that I went to today, Drew. So you see that little black straw that's going into the leak there. That is what is siphoning off some of the oil. BP today now saying it's siphoning off about 5,000 barrels per day. Why is this significant? Well, up until now, the estimate from BP has been that the well was only leaking 5,000 barrels per day. Clearly, as you can see, it's gushing. In addition to that 5,000 they're siphoning off, BP now admitting that there is more than 5,000 barrels per day coming out. And that is what has some of these skeptical Democrats who are very skeptical of offshore oil drilling in general saying that this is proof of a cover-up, as one of them put. Let's listen to some sound from Congressman Markey, Ed Markey of Massachusetts, member of the House of Representatives.
I think now we're beginning to understand that we cannot trust BP. People do not trust the experts any longer. BP has lost all credibility. Now the decisions will have to be made by others, because it's clear that they have been hiding the actual consequences of this spill.
And Drew, I mean, obviously, people like Congressman Markey, they have a point of view here. They don't like offshore oil drilling in general, and they are using this instance to really make their point because this is such a disaster. But I have to tell you, I have been reaching out to Republican sources who want to see offshore oil drilling, and they don't want to see this spill threaten the development of more drilling. They just want to make sure that it's done more safely. I haven't heard back from those lawmakers, but I'm very curious to see certainly what they have to say. What I can tell you, though, my Democratic sources have said they had to jump through hoops to get this video. They say that they asked BP for this video over and over, that BP has given them various and sundry excuses. This is what Democrats are telling me for why they can't get the video. And now, after really sending some letters and getting the administration involved, they were able to get this. This is one of, I think, 8 different live views that we have been watching online, Drew.
All right, Brianna Keeler live on Capitol Hill. Great stuff today as we continue to follow this. We're going to bring in Chad Myers off the radar now. We're talking about, I mean, the idea that they were going to cover this up by not showing us this live feed, I think, is a bit of a stretch, because what we're seeing is the oil. We're seeing the oil now on the coast.
We are. And what we were seeing from the video wasn't live at the time, but we had the pipe coming out, and the oil was spewing feet away, and we couldn't tell how many feet, but it was just gushing out. It's no longer gushing. It's just oozing to the surface. It's coming out. It's still coming out. There's no question. But if they're capturing 5,000 barrels, that's 200,000 gallons.
Is this live now, guys?
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
200,000 gallons of oil is now going into a tanker up above. That's a big help. We don't know what this number is, how much is still leaking, but it's significantly less than where it was. That is the great news. What you were talking about, where does it go now? Where is it going to go? This is a picture of the loop current from NASA. And we talked about this all the time. Temperature of the water. The water in the Caribbean, very warm. Here's Cuba.
Okay.
Here's Cuba. Here's Cancun. Here's Cozumel. Here's Florida. The loop current comes out of the Yucatan Channel, turns right, and then another right, and then goes up and becomes the Gulf Stream. That is amazing news for all of the beaches on the Florida West Coast. Nowhere is it expected that this oil will land on the Florida West Coast because the loop current doesn't take it there. There's no current taking the oil to Tampa, Sarasota, Anna Marie, all the way down into Naples. But it will, and will probably eventually even get into the coral reefs off of the Florida Keys. That is the most significant thing because it's the way this loop current goes. Comes up, turns around, and then down. And the oil is now, the sheen of the oil getting into the loop current and taking its way down farther to the south and eventually on up the East Coast.
We haven't talked about this, so slap me if I'm stretching, but if they get this thing shut down with their killed mud or whatever the heck they're going to try to do on Sunday, all right? So then we stop that oil.
Yes.
The fact that it does get into the loop current, is that a good and bad news? Good news meaning we could stretch this oil further out and disperse it more? Is that a stretch?
It's a stretch because it's still, water and oil don't mix.
Right.
It eventually gets eaten by microbes a little bit. You know, there is oil leaking into the Gulf of Mexico every day without this, and it's taken care of, but there will be tar balls all the way up the East Coast, all the way to Europe.
Man,
because there's so much oil that's already in the water. It's not going away.
Chad Myers. Thanks a lot, Chad.
You bet.